Hi guys, welcome to another quick guidance video. In today's video, we will be talking about the basics of investing. I know a lot of you have requested me to cover this particular topic, and that is why today I have invited Mr. Purav Shah, who is an alum of IIM Ahmedabad, and he did his undergraduation from the University of Cambridge in UK. So Purav will be just covering a few basics of investing. So let's all welcome Purav first, and Purav, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Shavi, for inviting me. So, what I'll be talking about is a basic introduction to investing. This is primarily targeted at people in their 20s who are just starting out in their first or second job and who want to learn a little bit more about how to start investing. So, I'm not a registered financial advisor, I'm just someone who's very interested in investing. And I'm happy to share some of the things that I've learned, through my readings and things like that. So we'll first start off with a very basic question. So why should one invest? It may be a bit obvious to some people, but I've just laid out three key reasons over here on why you should start investing and why you should start early. So the first is that it's important to start investing early because it'll help you create wealth to achieve some of your long-term goals. So for example, if you want to buy a house in 10 or 15 years, if you want to save up for your children's education, college education, then it's important to start investing early to build that corpus so that when that expense does come up, you have enough capital to, um, you know, uh, to pay for that expense. The second one is that it's important to start investing because it'll give you a good secondary source of income. So in life, if we face some emergencies or some tragedies where we may not be able to work for a few years, so it's important to build that corpus so that if certain emergencies do arise, we have a secondary source of income that supports us, and investing is a great way to do that. And the third reason that I can think of is it gives you financial freedom. So if you've invested and in your 40s and 50s, if your investments have worked out well, then you have enough capital so that you don't need to work for money anymore. It gives you a lot of freedom to pursue whatever you want, to pursue your passions and things like that. So that's just a basic starting point on why it is important to invest and why it is important to start investing early. So next, we can discuss that what are the different asset classes that we can invest in. So broadly, we can invest in equity and debt. There are some other asset classes as well, such as gold, real estate, cryptocurrency is becoming increasingly popular nowadays. But for this video, we'll just focus on equity and debt as the two main asset classes. So next, we look at how should you decide the split between debt and equity. I think there are four main factors that govern the split between debt and equity. So the first factor is your time horizon. So how long are you going to be investing for? So ideally, if you're investing in equity, you should have at least a 3-year horizon. I personally feel that if you have a 7 or 10-year horizon, that's even better, because equities tend to be quite volatile in the short term, but over the long term, they're likely to give you better returns than a debt instrument. Often, your time horizon is linked with your age. Often, younger people have much longer to invest. So that's why a lot of people say that you should invest in equities when you're young. This is partly true, but I think this is just one of the reasons or one of the factors that should govern the split between debt and equity. So the second factor is personal circumstances. So no two 25-year-old individuals are in exactly the same situation. So for example, you may have one 25-year-old whose parents are well off, who've planned for the retirement, and the 25-year-old individual does not need to spend a lot of money in the coming 3, 4, 5 years to support their family or to support their parents. On the other hand, you may have another 25-year-old whose parents have not planned for retirement, who maybe has some illnesses in the family, and they need to spend some money in the next 3, 4, 5 years to support their family. So in the case of the second individual, it makes more sense to have more of their investments in debt, because it'll give you much more stable returns compared to the first individual who has a very long time horizon and who does not need to um, you know uh, spend any money to support their family in the near term. Another personal circumstance can be, for example, if someone wants to buy a house in the next 3, 4, or 5 years, it's probably better to allocate more of your investments into debt because it'll give you more stable returns. Because in 3 years, let's say if you do decide to buy that house and you want to make that down payment, and if at that time there is a downturn in the equity markets, then a lot of your capital will be eroded and you may not have the money to make that down payment. So the second point is to be aware of your own personal circumstances to govern that split between debt and equity. The third factor is your risk appetite or your personality type. So some people, their personality is that they cannot stomach a lot of volatility. If the market crashes by 20, 30, 40%, they may not be able to, you know, they may not be okay with that kind of volatility. So there's nothing right or wrong about this. That there are different personality types, and some people can remain calm through a crisis. Some people get extremely worried during an equity market downturn. So you also need to look at yourself that what is your personality type. Will you be able to survive, or will you be okay with huge downturns in the equity market, and will you continue investing through that crisis? So I think points two and three kind of determine your risk profile, your personal circumstances along with your risk appetite. It determines how risk averse you are. So the more risk averse people, they should ideally invest slightly more in debt, and the less risk averse you are, you can go for a higher equity allocation. The fourth point, and this is a slightly tricky one, is what is your view on the market? It's extremely difficult to form a view on the market on whether the market is overvalued or whether the market is undervalued. In fact, even some expert investors are not able to predict, overvaluation or undervaluation correctly. But this does play a role that if the markets are overvalued, maybe you should invest less in equities. If you feel that the markets are undervalued, you should start investing a little bit more in equities. Obviously, keeping the other three points in mind. So, just a few points on forming a view of the market is I would suggest that for new investors, it's very difficult to form a view on the market. So, new investors should avoid doing that. If you do want to find a view of the market, we should use relative indicators or valuation indicators and not absolute indicators. So, for example, if the Nifty 50 has gone from 10,000 to 12,000 in a matter of 2 months, it's gone up 20% in 2 months. This does not mean that the market is overvalued or undervalued. There are certain valuation metrics that you can use to assess overvaluation or undervaluation. These are also not perfect metrics, and they do not always give the correct signals all the time. But it's better than using absolute numbers. And another point to keep in mind over here on forming a view on the market is that we shouldn't invest more in equities just because equities have gone up, and we shouldn't invest less in equities just because equities have gone down. When the market is going through a big crash, there is a big tendency to pull your money out, to stop your investments and things like that. Consequently, when the market is going up, you see your 1 year, 2 year returns are amazing. There is a tendency to invest more in equities at that point in time. So I would suggest that at least new investors should avoid just following the herd or following the trend in the market. For new investors, I think it's best to systematically invest in equities over a longer period of time and maintain these investments over a 7, 10, 15-year horizon if possible, because I think that is a good way for long-term wealth creation. So how does one go about investing in equities? There are two basic ways that you can invest in equities. One is through equity mutual funds, and the second is through individual stocks. So I'll cover both of these in turn. So starting off with equity mutual funds. So what are the different types of equity mutual funds that are out there? So in India, there are a large number of categories of equity mutual funds. I've just simplified it into four basic categories over here: large cap, mid cap, small cap, and others. So others will include multi cap, thematic, international, sectoral funds, etc. So as the name suggests, large cap funds invest in large cap stocks. Mid and small cap funds invest in mid and smaller sized companies. At least in theory, the large cap funds are supposed to be less volatile. They're supposed to give you more stable returns over a longer period of time. And mid and small cap companies tend to be more volatile, but are likely to give you better returns over a longer period of time. Although this does not always work out. An alternative to large cap funds is also index funds. So index funds basically invest in the Nifty or the Sensex index. So some papers and some books such as Coffee Can Investing have argued that the outperformance of large cap funds over index funds has gone down in the last few years. So index funds may be a better option to get exposure to large cap companies. So my personal preference is that for my large cap investments, I prefer to invest in an index fund. And then I like to invest in one or two more mid or small cap equity mutual funds. So what are the challenges that are there in choosing equity mutual funds? How does one go about choosing a fund? So there are many challenges. It's extremely difficult to choose an equity mutual fund that is likely to give you great returns over a longer period of time. So I've just listed out some of the challenges over here. So the first challenge is that if you invest in any mutual fund, there's no guarantee that the manager who's managed the fund for so long will continue to manage the fund in the future. So the changing fund managers is an issue that equity mutual fund investors need to contend with. The second is changing styles. So a fund may have invested with a particular style over the last 5 or 10 years, and this style can change going ahead. Third is changing expense ratios. So expense ratios are basically what the mutual fund house charges you to manage the fund. So these expense ratios can go down, can go up over a period of time, and this can impact your returns. So all these factors mean that the past performance of the fund uh, is is not a great indicator of the future performance of the fund. So the past performance and future performance can be very different. So this is what makes choosing an equity mutual fund quite challenging. So despite this, so what are some of the factors that I use to choose the right equity mutual fund to invest in? So I look at four key points when choosing any equity mutual fund. So the first thing I always do is I only invest in the direct plans of the mutual funds. So every mutual fund will have two plans, a direct plan and a regular plan. So the difference between these two plans is that in a regular plan, the expense ratio is slightly higher than in the direct plan. So it can be higher by 0.5% or about 1% as well. So it's important to note that whenever, if you want to invest in a direct plan, the name of the fund that you invest in should have the word direct in it. So for example, a lot of people think that because they're investing online, they are investing in direct plans, but that's not necessarily true. Some of the online platforms also make you invest in regular plans. So the first thing that I do is I make sure that I'm only investing in the direct plans of these mutual funds because the expense ratios are slightly lower. The second thing that I do when investing in equity mutual funds is that I look at the number of the expense ratio. So usually about 1% expense ratio I consider reasonable. Anything over 1.5% is slightly high. So that means that the fund manager is charging you 1.5% of your money to just manage the fund, and this can lead to lower returns in the future. So anything less than 1% is great. Around 1% is at least okay for me. The third thing that I try to look at, and this is slightly difficult to judge, is the fund manager's style. So I try to read interviews by the fund manager. I try to see what the fund house is saying about their investments, how they approach their investments, and things like that. And what I believe, are they following the correct strategy according to me? Again, this is very difficult. Every fund manager has a different style, and only over a period of time do you realize what style is right, what style is wrong. The fourth thing that I try to look at is longevity of performance. I usually don't choose equity mutual funds based on 1 year or 2 year returns. I try to look at 3, 5, 10 year returns to see how the fund has performed over a longer period of time. Again, past performance is never an indicator of future performance, but at least longer performance or performance over a longer period of time gives me a little bit more confidence on the ability of the fund manager, the ability of the fund house. So I try to keep these 4 points in mind. Again, there's no guarantee that I'll choose the right fund based on this. But these are just some of the factors that I try to keep in mind to avoid certain mistakes, to avoid paying too high of an expense ratio on my fund, and things like that. So next we look at how to invest in individual stocks. So I just like to start off by saying that it's extremely difficult to choose which particular stock or which particular company to invest in. It requires a lot of detailed due diligence, and it requires an understanding of the industry that the company is operating in, what has been the company's performance, what valuation is the company trading at, what are the risks involved in investing in the company. And only once you have sufficient confidence over these four, at least these four parameters, should you go ahead and invest in any individual company. I would suggest that it's not recommended for investors who are just starting out their equity investments. It's better to start off with equity mutual funds, and then once you learn a little bit more about investing in equities, then you should go ahead and invest in individual stocks. Some of the general principles that I think that new investors should follow while investing in individual stocks is first, not invest based on tips. A lot of people, especially friends and family, tend to have very strong views about this stock is going to do well, this stock is not going to do well. You should invest in this company. I would suggest that investors do at least a basic level of due diligence before investing in stocks. Uh, Another point to keep in mind is not investing because of FOMO. The fear of missing out in equities is very real. If your friend has recommended you a stock and that stock has gone up 50, 60, 70%, now you feel left out and then you decide to enter that stock at that point in time. It may or may not be the right decision at that point in time. So it's important to keep your emotions under control and not invest based on tips, based on fear of missing out or things like that. I would suggest that if you are interested in investing in individual stocks, you should spend some time learning, spend some time reading books, reading blogs, reading news, so that you get a little bit more confidence about how to analyze a particular stock, and whether you should invest in it or not invest in it. Another thing that young investors can do is run a paper portfolio. So, for example, if an advisor has given you some advice on investing in a particular stock, or if you've done your own research and you think that company X is a good company to invest in, instead of putting your own money in it, you can just make a note of it, and run a paper portfolio or a fake portfolio. And then you can review this portfolio every 6 months, 12 months, in 2 or 3 years. So this is a great way of learning. It's a great way of understanding whether your analysis was right or wrong, and you can do it in a risk-free way. You're not risking any money, but it's a great way to learn and build up your knowledge over a period of time. And once you have some amount of confidence on your ability to pick the right stocks, then you can go ahead and put actual money into the into investments. So this brings us to the end of the first video. In this video, we basically covered how to choose your asset allocation, so how to choose the split between debt and equity. And we've also covered the basics of investing in equity, how you can invest in equity mutual funds, and how you can go about investing in individual stocks as well. In the next video, we'll primarily talk about debt. So what are the different debt options that there are? What are the different categories of debt mutual funds? What are the risks involved in investing in debt mutual funds? And then we'll end the next video with some general principles for investing.
Thanks a lot for such an insightful session, Purav. It was really amazing, and I hope that everyone has learned quite a bit. We will be looking forward to further sessions with you. And guys, if you have any feedback or any question regarding this particular topic, just let me know in the comments below so I can pass it on to Purav, and we will like to cover it in the next video together. So that's it from our side, guys. Thanks a lot, Purav, again. It was a pleasure.